What's up, everybody? Logan Alec here with another credit card review. Today I'm taking a look at the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Some of you may have seen my recent review of the Chase Sapphire Preferred. That's the Reserve's kind of little sister card, if you will. There is a link to my review of the Sapphire Preferred in the description below, as well as links to my other credit card reviews. But today, I'm reviewing the Reserve, which is the premium travel card in the Sapphire line. As usual, this review video has 3 sections. First, I will cover the features and benefits of the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the fees, and kind of the basics of what you need to know. And then I'm going to get into the Sapphire Reserve's pros and cons. And finally, at the end of the video, I'm going to go through 2 situations, 2 kinds of people for whom I would recommend the Sapphire Reserve, as well as 2 kinds of people who I would probably advise to go with another card. Now, I know some of you are going to be wondering whether the Sapphire Preferred or the Sapphire Reserve is right for you. Obviously, I'll be touching on a few of those points related to that in this video, but I'm also going to be releasing a separate comparison video later this month where I will go over some really specific examples of which card between the Preferred and the Reserve is going to be a better option depending on your spending and your credit card's goal. So stay tuned for that one if you're trying to decide between these 2 Chase Sapphire cards. As with all my credit card reviews, I have my affiliate link to the credit card being reviewed in the description below. So if you're interested in the Chase Sapphire Reserve, I would really appreciate it if you use my link below. If you use my link and you are approved, then the channel will get a small commission. Thank you so much for supporting the channel in that way so it continues to be worth my while to create content like this for you. All right, let's get into it. First thing I want to mention is that Chase is currently offering an introductory bonus for new Chase Sapphire Reserve cardholders. You'll get 60,000 points if you spend at least $4,000 in the first 3 months after opening the card. Now, if you redeem those points for cash, it's going to come out to $600. Okay, that's not bad, right? But the real value with this card comes when you start looking at the other redemption options. Sapphire Reserve actually allows you to redeem your points for travel arrangements through the Chase Ultimate Rewards interface. And when you do that, you're going to get a 50% bonus, an extra 50% value on any points that you spend in that way. In addition to that, there's a program that Chase has called Pay Yourself Back that allows cardholders to get that same 50% bonus when they use their points to cover past purchases in particular categories. Those categories are currently dining, grocery stores, home improvement stores, and some charity. So it's almost like reimbursing yourself by withdrawing from a health savings account. You'll retroactively apply your points to a purchase you made in one of those categories in the last 90 days. And they'll cover 50% more in spending than they would if you just redeem them, for cash or a statement credit or something like that. For example, if you have 2,000 points, let's say you charged $30 at a restaurant 2 months ago, well, you can cover that $30 with 2,000 points, and that will be subtracted out of your current balance. So assuming you have enough spending to do that, and you will have to generate $4,000 in spending in the first 3 months to get that 60,000 point bonus, right? But assuming you can do that, those 60,000 points are going to end up effectively being worth $900 if you redeem for travel through Chase Ultimate Rewards or through the Pay Yourself Back program. In terms of everyday rewards, the Chase Sapphire Reserve reward structure is pretty straightforward. You're going to receive 3% back in the Reserve's 2 bonus categories, that's travel and dining. You're going to receive 1% back on everything else. That's it. No rotating categories or anything like that. Like with the Freedom Flex, it's just a flat 1% on non-bonus categories and 3% on travel and dining. Pretty simple, right? Of course, you're going to be able to get 50% more than that if you use Pay Yourself Back or use your points to book travel through Ultimate Rewards. So in that case, those rewards are going to be worth 1.5% value back and 4.5% value back rather than 3%, or rather than 1% and 3%. Now, the Sapphire Reserve does come with a pretty hefty fee at $550. Definitely one of the more expensive cards that I reviewed on this channel, but it offsets more than half of that cost with an annual $300 travel credit. So your first $300 in travel spending each year will be covered by that travel credit. And under the circumstances with the pandemic, Chase actually extended that credit to cover your grocery store and gas station purchases as well through the end of 2021. Beyond that, there are a few other perks worth mentioning. Chase really pulls out all the stops here to make this a premium travel card to kind of compete with, the Amex Platinum. As a Sapphire Reserve card holder, you'll get complimentary access to airport lounges around the world through the Priority Pass Select membership. You'll also get some exclusive perks of more than 1,000 participants in the Luxury Hotel and Resort Collection program. Those include free daily breakfast for two, automatic room upgrades when available, and automatic free Wi-Fi, in addition to a unique gift at each destination. Let's see what else. You can get 10% back. Yes, 10% back on all Lyft rides and subscriptions through the end of March 2022, and Chase will reimburse you for up to $100 when you apply for either Global Entry or TSA PreCheck. You can be reimbursed for one of those two programs every 4 years. Chase is also currently giving Sapphire Reserve cardholders 12 free months of Lyft Pink, along with Dash Pass for DoorDash and Caviar. Lyft Pink provides 15% savings on all rides, and Dash Pass waived delivery fees from eligible restaurants and orders of more than $12. So there are a lot of potential savings there if you use either of those two services frequently. Finally, if you get the Sapphire Reserve, you'll get a $60 statement credit for DoorDash plus a $120 statement credit for a Peloton membership. Those won't expire until the end of 2021, so you still have some time to use them. Now, one key benefit of the Sapphire Reserve reward structure is that the points you earn can be used in some really flexible ways. As I said, you get more bang for your points when you use them to pay yourself back through the Pay Yourself Back program, or when you use them to book travel through Chase Ultimate Rewards. But you can also transfer your points between your Chase cards or even to some third-party rewards platforms. So let's talk about transferring to the third-party platforms for a second. Essentially how it works is you can take your points from Chase Ultimate Rewards and you'll be able to send them to a third-party rewards account with one of Chase's participating partners at a one-to-one value. So here's a list of supported platforms. There's Aer Lingus Air Club, British Airways Executive Club, Emirates Skywards, Air France KLM Flying Blue, Iberia Plus, JetBlue TrueBlue, Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer, Southwest Airlines Rapid Rewards, United Airlines Mileage Plus, Virgin Atlantic Flying Club, Intercontinental Hotels Group Rewards Club, Marriott Bonvoy, and World of Hyatt. Okay, so you might be wondering why you would want to transfer points at a one-to-one value when you could get 50% bonus for redeeming your points through travel through Chase Ultimate Rewards. The answer is that those third parties, they could be running their own promotions, or their points are just so valuable that they're worth even more than that 50% bonus if you were to redeem your points for travel through Chase Ultimate Rewards. For example, if you want to book a flight through one of the airline travel partners, let's say they're offering double the cash value when you use miles, you can just transfer your Chase Sapphire Reserve points at one-to-one. Of course, the value there is going to be on a case-by-case basis, but the point is that there are going to be situations where you can get even more bang for your points by transferring them to another platform. I also mentioned that you can transfer your points between Chase cards. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to have two cards from the same bank, but in this case, there are actually some benefits to combining multiple Chase cards. For example, let's say you have the Freedom Unlimited and you also have the Sapphire Reserve. The Freedom Unlimited gives you 1.5% back in points on non-bonus spending, which is actually higher than the 1% you get on non-bonus spending from the Sapphire Reserve. So instead of taking the Sapphire Reserve 1% and converting it to 1.5% through Pay Yourself Back on non-bonus spending, right, or by booking travel through Chase Ultimate Rewards, you can get a base 1.5% back on your Freedom Unlimited spending, non-bonus spending, then transfer the points over to your Sapphire Reserve and convert them there, right, and they'll be worth 2.25% when you redeem them through Chase Ultimate Rewards or through the Pay Yourself Back program. Now, before I move on to the pros and cons, I want to talk about the purchase protection and travel protection features that come with the Sapphire Reserve. Chase doesn't necessarily promote these as much as the the more tangible, everyday rewards, but they can be helpful in terms of peace of mind, particularly for people who travel frequently. First, let's go through the purchase protection coverage. Chase's insurance partners will cover new purchases made on your Sapphire Reserve for 120 days, and they will compensate you up to $10,000 per claim, $50,000 per year. Now, there are some caveats to this policy. For example, it doesn't cover anything you buy used, and they're probably not going to pay out if you just lost the item or something like that. These claims do go through a third-party insurance company. So if you're making a claim for theft, they're most likely going to assume that you filed a police report and go through whatever their process is for getting that compensation. So with these kinds of, these insurance-like policies, you really got to read the fine print. So again, it's not as simple as just saying, hey, this was damaged and then getting reimbursed, but the Sapphire Reserve is going to provide coverage in those cases of damage or theft consistent with the insurance company's guidelines. You can also be reimbursed for items that you want to return if the store won't take them back. This coverage is available for up to 90 days after making a purchase. You can get up to $500 per claim and $1,000 per year. Finally, Sapphire Reserve cardholders get an extra year of warranty coverage beyond any eligible U.S. manufacturer's warranty of up to 3 years. So if something comes with a 2-year warranty and it breaks during the 3rd year, you'll be able to make a claim through your Sapphire Reserve card. Of course, these benefits are only going to apply to purchases actually made with your Sapphire Reserve, okay? So you have to remember to use a Sapphire Reserve if you want to secure that coverage on a particular item. The Sapphire Reserve provides even more features with respect to travel protection. Very helpful coverage for frequent travelers. First is their trip cancellation interruption insurance, which provides up to $10,000 per person and $20,000 per trip in situations where you're forced to cancel or leave early due to illness, severe weather conditions, etc. Now, I would say that you should first try to get refunds from the providers themselves, okay? For example, the airline or the hotel, as the case may be. But if you can't get your money back from them, then your Sapphire Reserve may cover you up to the limits I mentioned. You'll also be able to decline rental car insurance and use Chase's protection instead. They offer primary coverage for collision and theft up to $75,000. So unless you're renting a Ferrari or something, that should be more than enough to cover a rental. Beyond that, there are protections for flights delayed more than 6 hours. Your Sapphire Reserve coverage will pay for food, lodging, etc. up to $500 per travel. It will also reimburse you for up to $3,000 per traveler if your baggage is lost or damaged by the airline. Finally, Sapphire Reserve cardholders get emergency medical evacuation coverage for up to $100,000. Of course, you hope that you won't need to file any of these claims, but these protections cover a lot of the worst case scenarios you could imagine running into while traveling. Personally, I think there is a lot of value here for frequent travelers who want that peace of mind that comes from knowing you'll be able to fall back on your credit card coverage in case of anything unexpected. That said, I do want to say you really got to read the fine print with this stuff, okay? It may be wise to get a travel insurance policy as well, right? As you know, if you've ever filed an insurance claim, it's really about the fine print and the details, right? And that goes through for traditional insurance as well as these kinds of insurance-like protections that come with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. You don't want to be in a situation where you thought you'd be covered for something, but then you're actually not. All right, now let's talk about the pros and cons of the Chase Sapphire Reserve, starting with the pros. Pro number one is that $300 annual travel credit. I know a lot of people, they look at the Reserve $500 annual fee and they immediately rule out this card. But assuming you book $300 in travel, you're effectively only paying $250 for the rest of the year. Even if you're not sure you're going to travel that much in 2021, for this year, they're extending the credit to cover gas station and grocery store purchases for the rest of the year. So most people won't have trouble taking advantage of that extra $300. Pro number two is all the ways you can transfer and redeem your points, right? And that's really what separates the Sapphire Reserve from, say, the Freedom Unlimited, and it unlocks a lot of lucrative opportunities if you're savvy about using your points in the most efficient way possible. So obviously, that starts with the Pay Yourself Back program and the ability to use your points through travel through Ultimate Rewards. Even if that's the only way you ever use points, you're still going to get that awesome 50% bonus when you're redeemed from travel, which brings the overall cashback rates to 1.5%. For non-bonus spending and 4.5% for the travel and dining bonus categories. But even beyond that, you can get possibly even more than 50% in bonus by transferring your points to other platforms, as I described earlier. You can also transfer points from another Chase card over to your Chase Sapphire Reserve. Again, the Freedom Unlimited is a great option there because it offers a base 1.5% back on non-bonus purchases, which turns into 2.25% when you transfer the points over to your Sapphire Reserve and use them to pay yourself back or book travel through Chase Ultimate Rewards. Pro number three is that introductory offer, 60,000 points when you spend 4,000 or more in the first 3 months. 60,000 points can end up being worth $900 if you're redeemed for travel through Chase Ultimate Rewards or you pay yourself back, and possibly even more, right? If you're able to find a good offer from a third-party rewards platform. So when you add that to the $300 travel credit, right? And let's say you also use the $100 credit to apply for global entry TSA pre-check once you get the card. Even accounting for the annual fee, that's a net gain of $750 in your first year before you even add in the cash back you're going to earn on each purchase. Finally, pro number 4 is the extra travel perks. These might not make much of a difference to you if you only travel a few times a year, but if you're a frequent traveler, especially a frequent international traveler, you're going to get a lot of use out of the access to airport lounges as well as the benefits at hotels and resorts. Again, that includes free breakfast, free Wi-Fi, automatic upgrades, early check-ins, late checkout, plus a unique gift at each participating hotel and resort. And on top of that, you also really have that robust coverage I mentioned earlier. Hopefully you won't need to use that, but if something does happen, you won't need to worry as much about the financial implications, though I do say read the fine print. Sapphire Reserve also doesn't charge any foreign transaction fees, so you can take it anywhere around the world and continue earning rewards without having to worry about extra charges. Overall, this is an outstanding travel credit card for those who travel frequently, especially internationally, and these benefits really underline the value you get for the $550 annual fee. All right, now let's discuss the cons. The first con I want to talk about is that annual fee, $550 per year. Again, that's one of the highest fees I've seen on a mainstream credit card. Now, as I said, if you spend at least $300 on travel during the year, you're going to get a $300 travel credit, right? So that $550 annual fee less $300 is essentially $250 out of pocket, right? And there are many other travel benefits as well. But still, this is not exactly cheap for a rewards card, so I understand why people are quite apprehensive about the Sapphire Reserve's annual fee. A lot of people look at the Sapphire Preferred instead. That one only costs $95 per year. As I mentioned earlier, I will be putting out a more detailed comparison later this month between the Preferred and the Reserve to give you a better idea of which card is going to come out ahead for you based on your spending and credit card goals. Con number 2, even though the Sapphire Reserve comes with some great rewards opportunities, the base cashback percentages really aren't anything special compared to other premium cards and even some free cards. Remember, you get 1% on non-bonus categories as well as 3% on travel and dining. That's not bad, but it doesn't necessarily stand out on those rates alone. So again, the real value of the Sapphire Reserve comes from the ways you can maximize your rewards, right? Transferring points between cards, getting that 50% bonus when you're redeemed for travel through Ultimate Rewards or when you pay yourself back, as well as potential expanded value when you transfer your points to other rewards platforms. Con number 3, one benefit of the Sapphire Reserve is the access to the airport lounges, but that actually only applies to lounges that are part of the Priority Pass network. That's going to cover you at a lot of airports, but the Sapphire Reserve isn't the best card on the market when it comes to lounges. For example, the American Express Platinum card gives you access to the Priority Pass network, as well as other lounge networks like Plaza Premium, Escape Lounges, Delta Sky Club, and American Express International Lounges. There will be a link to the American Express Platinum in the description below for anyone who wants to check that one out. Okay, at this point, you might be wondering whether the Sapphire Reserve is right for you. So before I wrap up the video, I want to talk about 2 circumstances where this card is going to be a good fit, along with 2 circumstances where I would probably advise you to look for another card. First situation where I would lean toward the Sapphire Reserve is for people who already earn lots of points through a free Chase card, for example, the Freedom Flex or the Freedom Unlimited. So let's say you put an average of $30,000 a year, $30,000 a year in non-bonus spending on your Freedom Unlimited every year. That means you're earning 45,000 points, which translate to $450 when you redeem those points for cash. On the other hand, if you add a Sapphire Reserve to your existing Freedom Unlimited lineup, you can transfer all those points over to your Sapphire Reserve to get that 50% bonus from Pay Yourself Back or by booking travel. In that case, you're going to end up with $675 instead of the $450 you had with the Freedom Unlimited alone. Obviously, that value is going to be even greater if you have another third-party rewards account that allows you to redeem your points for more than a 50% bonus. The second situation that's perfect for the Sapphire Reserve is if you travel a lot and you'll be able to get enough out of the rewards and the perks to justify the $550 annual fee. As I said earlier in the video, that fee is kind of a turnoff for some people. It's a lot of money to invest in a credit card. So it's easier to get something like the Sapphire Preferred that comes with a lower annual fee, right? Just kind of psychologically. With that being said, just because one card has a lower annual fee doesn't necessarily mean it's better or worse value, right? You really got to analyze your own situation. And I think a lot of people who get the Sapphire Preferred for the reason of the annual fee might actually be better off at the Sapphire Reserve if they actually ran the numbers on their own spending. So I don't want to get too deep into that comparison right now. As I mentioned, I'll be putting out an in-depth comparison of these cards later this month, but I did want to point that out when you consider the travel credit the additional rewards, the lounge access, the other benefits of the Sapphire Reserve, in many cases, right, if you travel frequently, it makes up that extra annual fee amount and more over the course of a year of traveling and earning and redeeming rewards. All right, at the same time, there are some contexts where the Sapphire Reserve isn't going to be as efficient or may not be worth the annual cost, okay? So the first situation in which the Sapphire Reserve may not be for you is if you just want a simple credit card setup, right? There are a lot of things you can say about the Sapphire Reserve. Obviously, it's a really outstanding rewards card for a lot of people. But one thing you can't say about the Reserve is that it's easy or simple to take advantage of all the benefits. If you look at this card through the lens of just earning straight up cash back, right, or rewards without really thinking about it, it doesn't really stand much out from other cards, even some cards with no annual fee or a much smaller annual fee. You only get 3% back on travel and dining, 1% back on everything else. Well, even the Freedom Unlimited gives you 3% back on travel, at 5% back on travel if it's booked through Chase Ultimate Rewards, and 1.5% back on all other purchases, and that one doesn't even come with an annual fee. Ultimately, the value of the Sapphire Reserve comes if you're willing to put in a little extra work to get that extra value, right? By transferring points, getting that 50% bonus, right? Looking at other third-party rewards platforms to maximize your points. So if you're just the kind of person who wants to get straightforward credit card rewards without worrying too much about the details and thinking about how to maximize value, I would probably recommend something like the City Double Cash, right? Which gives you 2% back on all purchases, no bonus categories to worry about or anything like that. Also, no annual fee. There's a link to that card in the description below, as well as a link to the review video I did for that card. Second group, I would probably recommend another card for is the smaller spenders, right? People who want to start a credit card or something like that, and particularly people who don't travel as often. In general, the more you're spending on a card, in terms of the annual fee, the higher the annual fee is, the more you're going to have to spend throughout the year to make up for that fee. Sapphire Reserve costs $550 a year, right? Yeah, you'll get $300 back through the travel credit. So if you travel, at least $300 worth a year, then you still have $250 to make up before you even break even, right? Let alone actually earning anything positive. So of course, it's hard to say exactly how much spending you'll need to generate that much in rewards. It depends on the categories you're spending in, as well as the way you're redeeming the points. But just for the sake of simplicity, let's say you spend 5 times as much in the non-bonus categories as you do on travel and dining, okay? In other words, 1/6 of your spending gets that 3% back, and you always redeem your points through Pay Yourself Back, okay? In that case, you're effectively going to earn 2% back on your spending, okay? Well, $250 is 2% of $12,500, so that's how much you'd have to spend just to make up what you spend on the annual fee, minus the $300 travel credit, assuming you take advantage of that bonus. It's also worth mentioning that you spend all that money just to get an effective cash back rate that's equal to what you could have received from the City Double Cash card. So there are definitely situations where the Sapphire Reserve will be well worth the higher cost, but that fee is going to be harder to justify for people who don't have enough spending, particularly in the bonus categories of travel and dining, to offset how much they're paying to keep the card open. Hopefully that clears up some of the pros and cons and example scenarios for the Sapphire Reserve. I know it's more complicated than some of the other credit cards I reviewed here on the channel, but ultimately it is one of the best cards out there for frequent travelers, and people in that group won't have much trouble justifying the annual fee through the rewards you get on this card, as well as through the perks it provides. Again, I will be looking at particular use cases for the Sapphire Preferred versus the Sapphire Reserve in an upcoming video. I'll go into a little more detail about the math behind that comparison, so keep an eye out for that if you're considering applying for one of those two cards. As always, I want to thank everyone for watching to the end. I really do appreciate your support, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.